So when you think about a massive data breach at a major international airline, your mind probably goes straight to sophisticated hackers, right? Bypassing these incredibly complex firewalls. But what if the key to unlocking an airline's most sensitive data wasn't some elegant line of code, but something, well, way more ordinary? Yeah, the way in was completely unexpected.
It's a question that sounds like the setup for a heist movie, doesn't it? You probably imagine someone cracking into complex flight control systems or breaking into a giant fortified reservations database. But the reality, in this case, is so much simpler and honestly, a lot more surprising.
That's right, the food. The entry point for this major cyber attack wasn't a cockpit or a server room, but the company that supplies the in-flight meals. And look, this isn't some hypothetical scenario. This actually happened. It happened to one of Asia's largest airlines, South Korea's flag carrier, Korean Air. So picture this. It's right at the end of the year, and the airline sends out an internal notice about a security incident. But as they started to reveal the details, a crucial twist came out. The primary target wasn't actually them at all.
So what was the damage? The personal data of roughly 30,000 Korean Air employees was exposed. And we're talking names, account numbers, really sensitive information, but how did it happen?
Well, here's a direct quote from the airline's own internal notice that basically tells the whole story. The breach happened at a partner company, Korean Air, Catering, and Duty Free. So the hackers got access to the airline's employee data through a supplier, a company that had been spun off years earlier.
And this brings us to the core concept of this whole explainer. Korean Air wasn't the victim of a direct assault. They were compromised through a trusted partner. And that's a classic example of a supply chain attack. Think of it this way. Instead of trying to break down the airline's heavily fortified front door, the attackers found a side entrance. They targeted a smaller, maybe less secure partner to get what they wanted. It's the digital equivalent of swiping a key from the building's cleaning crew.
The attack really unfolded in three pretty distinct stages. First, the hackers targeted the weakest link in the supply chain, that catering vendor. Next, they breached the supplier system, what's known as an ERP server that manages business operations, and they stole the data. The final impact then landed squarely on Korean Air, whose employee data was now exposed, all without its own main defenses ever being touched.
Okay, so we know how it happened, but who was behind it? Let's meet the culprits who actually claimed responsibility for the attack.
The group is called Clop, and these folks are a major player in the world of cybercrime. They are a Russian-speaking ransomware group, and they're known for their brutal efficiency and their devastating impact on large organizations.
Now, Clop specializes in this tactic called double extortion. It's a really nasty two-pronged strategy. First, they steal your most sensitive data. Then, they encrypt your systems so you can't access them. So the ransom demand isn't just to get your files back, it's to prevent them from leaking all of your stolen secrets all over the internet.
This little dossier gives you a snapshot of their MO. They focus on big game hunting, targeting massive corporations for huge payouts. They're infamous for exploiting zero-day vulnerabilities, which are security flaws so new that even the software makers don't know about them yet. They also operate as a ransomware as a service, essentially leasing their malicious tools to other criminals. And interestingly, their malware is often designed to avoid computers in former Soviet countries.
And here's the thing. The attack on Korean Air's supplier wasn't a one-off. Not even close. It was just a single battle in a massive global cyber war that this group has been waging for years.
If you look at this timeline, you can see a really clear pattern of escalation. In 2021, they hit about 100 organizations using a flaw in Excelian software. Then in early 2023, they compromised over 130 organizations through the Go Anywhere platform. And then came the Move It attack, which was one of the biggest ransomware campaigns in history, impacting hundreds upon hundreds of companies around the world.
And the list of their victims reads like a who's who of global corporations and institutions. I mean, we're talking about industrial giants like Shell, airlines like British Airways, media organizations like the BBC, and major professional services firms like PwC. Nobody is too big to be a target.
So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? Why does a hack on an airline's catering company in South Korea matter to the rest of us?
Ultimately, this story reveals a fundamental truth about our modern world. We all live in a digital supply chain. Your data doesn't just live on your company's servers. It's shared across countless partners and vendors. And what this case proves is that your security is only as strong as the weakest link in that entire chain.
This is the fundamental challenge we all face today.
Our data and our security are interconnected in these vast, complex webs, and it forces us to ask a difficult question. In a global network where one small vulnerability can cause a massive breach, who is truly watching the weakest link?